to the rules and regulations. We think just by tightening the rules and regulations we will develop a Krishna consciousness, and then others are thinking when we are more free we will come to the pure Krishna consciousness, but neither of them works. So
the Shastric guidance is there. Rules and regulations being performed without the knowledge what the purpose of them is, it's actually being defined by the Goswamis being destructive. It's not constructive. So, and we can see it practically. Somebody may appear very strict in his performance, but his pride is increasing. Well, it should be exactly opposite. It's the result which actually can be observed. So we can judge things by the result in Krishna consciousness. So there is no need to create any doubt. Look, this devotee was so strict and he followed so nicely, and and he was so together. And look what he's doing now. That confusion is no need to be there. First of all, in any point of our voyage back home, back to Godhead, there is a there's a choice to be made. So you get gifts on the way. As we serve Krishna, as we follow the instruction of spiritual master, we will be rewarded. Rewarded in the terms of being enabled more to control our senses, being able to more to control the mind. We will rise from the lower modes to the higher modes. There will be an advancement of that sort. But still, all the way through, the question remains, what are you going to do with that? To join Hare Krishna movement in a mode of ignorance, which is difficult, there should be some compassion at least. And leave Hare Krishna movement in a mode of goodness, it's not exactly, the goal. This is not what the whole thing is about. I love people doing that. Of course, you cannot sustain mode of goodness out there, they go down. But there was an improvement, yeah. He left in a better shape as he came. Yeah, but they are leaving. So, of course, we have this one very, very encouraging statement. Krishna says, any sort of advancement on this path never goes in vain. It's very encouraging. But it can be canned, it can be sealed off. In other words, you cannot taste the result. It's there on a shelf. It's sealed off by offenses. And somewhere down the line, later on, when you suffered the results of your impious activities, it will be reopened again and offered to you. Hey, you have some storage here. You collected some savings. You want to use it? Again, there's always a choice. So this word automatic can be easily misunderstood. In a strict sense, there is nothing automatic. It's always a choice. Krishna says, as you surrender unto me, I reveal myself to you. That's not automatic. Krishna waits. What are you going to do? Oh, I want to surrender. How? Surrender? No. I will give you intelligence to find the spiritual master. That's my reward for your attempt to surrender. No, I don't want the spiritual master. I want to serve you directly. Not possible. Then, bye-bye. You can become a shadow-like Vaishnava. There's plenty of these. They dress and this and they go and then biggie. Cigarette. So this can be something like that. You can be affiliated with Krishna consciousness, but you cannot enter. Through entrance door is one condition, is spiritual master here. That's a precondition Krishna gives. And he appreciates you are striving, very good. So I give you the intelligence from the heart how to find one. So devotee we have plenty of guidance. We have guidance from the heart, we have guidance from the Supersoul, and from the spiritual master is the external manifestation of the Supersoul. You don't have to search for the Supersoul, it's standing in front of you. You can ask the Supersoul, what shall I do? You know? So therefore it's such a responsible task. Imagine somebody tells you, you are my Supersoul. Because then you have to be clear with your Supersoul. But ultimately it's not that difficult. You just have to follow the instruction of your spiritual master, and then you can, give instruction as a spiritual master. Otherwise it doesn't work. So this is all included. Can you rephrase the question once more so I stay on the line? I don't get too colorful. What is this something?
Yeah, I see even sometimes devotees many years, they follow so strictly, but they don't have a heart for devotees.
Right.
They are banging on the head, or others are by being spontaneous and giving up.
That's the other extreme.
Yeah. So both are missing definite relationship with devotees.
It's a very relevant question. People get confused, So if I never accepted the myth of Prabhupada disciple, Jesenica, Prabhupada disciple. Bow down, Prabhupada disciple. No, you are only Prabhupada disciple to the degree you follow Srila Prabhupada. If you are not following, then you are not disciple. Yes, you got initiated. Initiation, Prabhupada defined as a chance. It's the beginning, not as the end. It's the beginning. You got initiated into the process. You started and you are admitted. Good. Now you are authorized. You can follow. You can follow. You haven't finished. Not at all. This is called caste, caste consciousness. The same thing. I was born as a Brahmana. I'm a Brahmana. Yeah, but what about the fish? What about this? What about that? That's not important. My father was a Brahmana, I'm born as a Brahmana. So my dear Prabhupada disciple, what are you doing? That's not important. Who was initiated by Prabhupada, 1975? No, sorry, this is good. Very nice. Very exceptional chance. But did you use it? What you do with that? There's no point in our Krishna consciousness we can say, this is my visit card. No, we are all trying to qualify ourselves. And Prabhupada gave us a challenge. He always gave us the position and then qualify. It's a very, very heavy way to educate somebody. You admit him to the school and he goes, where am I? And you go in a school. What should I do? Learn. No, I'm in a school. It was no, in the beginning, there was initiation said, and then people were sitting there, didn't know the four Agrawadi principles. Prabhupada was bold. He initiated them, he said, so, now we are initiated, now we have to follow this. They, what? Prabhupada said, it's too late, you got initiated. I was not always like that. But he really, Prabhupada said, nobody of you wanted to come to Krishna consciousness. I tricked you. And he was going, I got tricked by Prabhupada. Ecstasy. They have to be very, very powerful acharya to do such a thing. It's not really our way to do that. So our way is to inform people and make your choice. But no cheap. No cheap. So cheap means only from the heart, if you feel. No, it's not the heart, it's the senses. Hey, don't mix it up. Yeah, of course it's the heart, but who knows what's in your heart, you know? Good. I have to speak from the heart. Well, baby, it's wise, you know, mom. You know, don't. I have to open my heart. Don't. Who knows what's inside, you know? Millions of lifetimes stored with material desires. You want to open that? Whoa. No, we have to relate to each other on the level of heart. Really? You open your garbage container, I open my garbage container, what the relation is going to be there? What a horrifying statements. Don't open your heart. So no. Of course we join by heart. But Prabhupada said even initially there is an inclination, there's attraction. That attraction comes intuitively. I would even dare to say that nobody comes close to Krishna consciousness rationally, even they pretend to do so. No. You feel it's good. You feel it tastes good, it smells good, it's fun here. Gee, I would like to stay here. Then comes, and should come, the stage of developing, awakening intelligence. What have I actually done? What am I doing here? That goes on all the time. You know, it never stops. You know, because if you want to stay inspired, you have to find always deeper reasons. Why am I here? You know, you cannot really only live from one prasadam to another. Some people try to do that. Yeah, not so inspiring, you know. Yeah, just live from one meal to another. I'm here, I joined. Crazy people are very often like this. Crazy people go, I'm here. It happened to me in Copenhagen. One Krishna conscious affiliated Mataji under, got vacation from the psychiatric hospital. And my windows in my room in Copenhagen are ground floor, I'm in a cellar. So, I woke up 1 o'clock at night. So I pulled the curtain and look out, and there was his face in the darkness. And I'm here! Because I'm trained, So I said, me too! And I just closed the curtain and went to sleep. So, this is crazy people. They come and, I'm here! And you know what? You don't get rid of me. I join it. And they start to dictate their own pace of activities. It's quite few. And they say, no, Krishna is like this, like that, and it's going to be like this. And be merciful. You're supposed to be merciful. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. So accept any craziness what I do here, because Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. So therefore, fools dash in where the angels don't dare, and the fools come first. So, Prabhupada was quite strict on this. Actually, more strict is what means the eye. When you study his letters, he was really warning the managers, don't do this. He even said, when this movement had around 350 members, devotees, he said, we have enough. Let's train them to be brahmanas. Prabhupada was always rather aiming for the quality, not for the quantity. But so many came. What could he do? So at least he had established a system where the the first trained devotees, who make in charge for the young devotees. So there was some control on this. Don't think that today we have some problem with funny people coming around and claiming to be Hare Krishna. This was always there. Nothing was even worse. Any hippie was going, Hare Krishna, yeah, good. Bringing ideas and, what Vaishnavism is. I remember, I was a new bhakta, and there was a brahmachari living in the same room. I stayed in the same room, and every night he said, oh, it's so sweet. I hear the whole night Krishna's flute. That was the, and I was going, wow, he's so advanced. I don't hear anything. Yeah, and after 2 weeks he was gone. There were ideas those days flying around, you cannot imagine. Devotees having, I remember the idea of carrying your washing utensil, toothbrush and this, in something very clean and purified. It was called the cut-up coconut. You know, hollow coconut. Everybody carried this coconut with a toothbrush. I don't know who invented that. Where the zest came from. It was all kinds of ideas, you know. Yes. And, the best one was, I read in some Shastra, Krishna eats through the mouth of a Brahmana. So, they are all Brahmana. And Krishna eats through our mouth. There is no need to offer anything anymore, we just eat. Because Krishna eats through our mouth. The instructions I got from Sankirtan, my God. How do I offer, you know, because I was already at home offering and this, and then I went to Sankirtan, how do I offer on the street, and how do I offer bhoga like this, and I stand next to the Sankirtan band and this. The instruction I got from the Tamil president was, you just, whatever you have in the hand, you hold it in the hand like this, and you go, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, and then it's over. So I did that, you know. There were so many far instructions, you know, we got funny ideas. So that all kind of settles during the time, because whatever is concocted will not last. That's the beauty of concocted things. They will be all torn apart by time. Times will change everything. You know how many of these things, you ask any old devotee, how many revolutions did you saw? And they go, a revolution? You know, many. How many announcements of changes and entering the final phase of spreading Krishna consciousness? Yeah. You know, how many of these? You know, of course there's a very danger that you become a little bit cynical. So when the next one comes, you know, this is the ultimate formula for the ultimate change for preaching in the year 2014. When you have the headlines, you can hang a towel on this or something like this. But one shouldn't become a cynic, actually. There's no need of cynicism in that regard. One should always strive for finding, you know, an association, finding a place where you find Srila Prabhupada's instruction coming alive. There's two principles which are very, very real. And not in a Shastra, sorry. It's the only time I quote a little bit something else. But everybody knows and heard about this. First, birds of the same feather flock together. That can be universally applied. That means, according to the level of your material desires, according to your consciousness, you will find the association. It's there, already waiting for you. So a cheater finds a cheater, Sahajiya finds a Sahajiya. Krishna arranged like this, and they all feel really good about themselves. An idiot finds an idiot. Even Mayavadi finds a Mayavadi. And they sit together and say, is it so nice to be nothing? How do you feel as being nothing? Let's be together, nothing. You know, it's like, you know, people exactly find. You find even disciple finding a guru, it's not a chance. You think, oh, the guru was there just at that particular time. Well, nowadays there's something to choose from. You know, yeah. So it's not that actual chance. There's always a reason. So the birds of the same feather flock together. And then the second is that the water always finds its level. Temporarily you can take water and make a big fontaine. Fantastic! But when you switch up the water and it just stands there where it was. Or where it can level out. So in the long term, it doesn't sound very spectacular, but in the long term, devotees level out in a way they can still perform devotional service. Of course, Prabhupada liked to start fontaine. That's called Brahmacharya Ashram. I mean, what do you do? From my generation, old boys coming in, you know, 18, 20 years old, what do you do with this regard? Of course, you shave him up. And, you know, he doesn't have anything, and it's a brahmachari. Brahmachari and hippie is not so different. He has nothing, he is socially finished, he has nothing, you know, this. So, you know, you just shave him up and he's a brahmachari. But if he stays brahmachari, that's another thing. You know, most may realize that, you know, maybe just brahmachari preaching to Matajis all the time is maybe time to get married. When you have this vision, my God, all the men on this planet died out. So many women. What happened? You know, wherever I look, there's only females. Well, it's a time to get married. So, you know, so it's natural. And there's an arrangement for that. Prabhupada have foreseen that already. By the time this movement was mainly powered by brahmacharis and some sannyasis, he already, in his letters you'll find it, he already perceived the congregation coming up. He perceived the grihasthas coming up. He was already saying ahead. There's a letter, he says, don't expect everybody to live in our temples. It's technically impossible. So there has to be a preaching also, you know, accommodating that, which was a big problem. I remember when the first wave of grihasthas came up. Right. In America, and everything was delayed. The first things always happened in America, and they happened in Europe. ISKCON almost fell apart, you know. Because the sannyasis and brahmacharis were like, she got married. I remember in Germany there's jokes, you know, white dress, yeah, white, that's what you used to cover corpses. You know, this was this kind of humor. I managed as a brahmachari to Matajis in, you know, in Germany, you know, not all the time, but periodically. I found, you know, in a suitcase a gift from the brahmacharis. It was a bottle to take the color out of the dhobi, you know. The bleaching liquid was, you know, it's a gift for you. You know, this kind of humor, you know. So brahmacharis were considered like, it's also some form of suicide. The grihastha was considered some form of suicide, like he's gone. So, you know, so, but you know, then almost everybody started to get married one after another, and you know, the scale was shifting slowly. And the grihasthas, they turned back and they said, yeah, I know, fanatics, you know, just wait, it's coming, you know. And it became so edgy, and they went to Prabhupada and wanted him to be like taking part in this. He didn't. When the brahmacharis came, look at this grihasthas, you know, enjoy. Prabhupada said, but they're also doing service. And when the grihasthas came, this fanatical brahmacharis, you know, so many offenses they do. Prabhupada said, but they're also doing some service. There's always some service, you know. Always. That was his point. Hey, let's do some service. That was the actual point. And that's still the point. So this is our measurement. This is our key to association. This is our way to live together. Through the service. Outside of the service, what? What do you want to do? You have to share Krishna consciousness. How? How do you do that? Let's come together and chant Hare Krishna. You know what you are chanting? Did you ever heard the translation of the Mahamantra? My dear Krishna, please engage me in devotional service. You see, but this is engagement. I'm praying for engagement. What about if it's coming? You know, it's like you go in a restaurant and you order. Okay? Then they bring the food, you say, what should I do with that? I'm just sitting here ordering. You know, they will probably call some ambulance or something. But that's what you do. You chant Hare Krishna, please engage me in the service. The service is coming, you say, why should I do that? It's contradictory. Now we have to enter the deeper levels of the Mahamantra. We have to take the Mahamantra and meditate. But you feel it inside. That bliss. No, it's not here, it's here. Get sustained in your mind. Up to the point, and then you come why you are sometimes wondering why such a strict Vaishnava and so much low cost and so much knowledge. You know, it didn't left here. It didn't come here. It left, it was sustained here. Vimukta Malina. In a mind, you think you did it. I'm already there. I can see it. I can see my mind. It's fully Krishna conscious. But my heart is raging with material desires. That's not, you know, how it should end. And therefore, Krishna goes, very nice quoting, nice shloka. You know, nice thinking, nice quoting, nice learning. So where's the heart? You know, and that's what Krishna is really interested in. Hey, what is there in the heart? When I joined, I was told, Krishna doesn't see what you give, he sees what you are hiding. That was quite, wow, quite interesting concept. And Krishna knows even what we are hiding, but we don't know what we are hiding. It's a huge container, you know. There's lots of things there for millions of lifetimes. And sometimes you see devotee performing a senior Vaishnava. He's chanting since 30 years, very senior. You know what 30 years are in comparison to millions of lifetimes being out there in the material world? It's just like yesterday. And then after 30 years, huge material desire surface. The purification process, the analogy is like heating up a ghee wok, making butter. You know, when you put butter and make ghee, what happens is as you heat, you know, then the impurities come out. You didn't enjoy it. It was melted butter, it was quite okay. But then you keep on heating, the foam is created. There was the impurities inside. So you put the impurities and heat again and again until it's pure ghee. So fine. So you know, so similarly purification is, yeah, as you chant, boop, comes up, you go, whoa, you know, and the next one, whoop, and whoop, and how do we know where is it supposed to stop? There are different stages in life. When you are young and lusty and passionate, material desires are very easy to read, you know. You know, you just get nervous every time a Mataji is passing by, you know, and you know, you are shaken by lust and passion, and it's quite easy, you know. It's quite easy to see, you know. You should be all brahmanas, quickly, you know. So mode of passion, come on. When you get older, the passion is a little bit maybe purified, yes. Well, then come different phases in life. The seniority complex. I'm a senior Vaishnava. Everybody has to understand. Somewhere, I would say around the age of 50 or something like this, everybody gets the intense need to imprint something on a planet for the future generations. To make something gigantic, something so meaningful that even after you die they will speak, my God, what did he do? He changed the course of humankind. You know, the history of the world will be changed. That's a time that people become incredibly stupid. They write books about nonsense things, you know, yeah. You know, they just feel very important about something completely ridiculous, you know. In Krishna conscious context, it comes like, you know, I think time has come. I have to take sannyas, or something big. Sannyas is just another service, you know. It's just a service. I have to become Guru. Well, it's just another service. And what a service that is. You take the karma, we take the bliss, you know. Yeah. And we are thanking you. Oh, Guru Maharaj, you are so nice. You took all the karma and we are very blissfully celebrating while you are sick like a dog. You know, so it's like, what a service that is. And nobody tells you very much thank you. You know, you open the mail daily, you know. Dear Guru Maharaj, I am so horrible. You don't even know how horrible I am. You know, you know what I have done? You think that, oh, the disciple is revealing the heart. He's speaking of the past. No, he's speaking of the present. You know. And you know, and I have this material desire and that material desire. Could you adjust something so I can purify my material desires better? Make some arrangement, please. In the early days, you know, preaching in Russia, it was initiation ki jai, American visa ki jai. You know, someone was connected. You know, how do you get out of the misery? You get a new visa. You can finally go. You know, and things like this. What's your motivations? They are projected into the spiritual master and he has to deal with that. terrible thing. When I watch my godbrothers from a distance, I think, oh my God. Oof. And nowadays, in the age of liberalism and zero discipline, you know, you end up with a disciple. Prabhupada actually only had it. So he experienced it. You find it commenting. He said, Kali Yuga means disciple attacks a spiritual master. That's a quote. You know, this is Kali Yuga. It's one of my godbrothers told me not so long time ago, Jesenica, it's dangerous to initiate. You know, when he has a big lawyer, he can sue you, or you can pay lifelong. You have to pay, you know, for mental abuse, you know, compensation. It's a dangerous thing to initiate. What an attitude. This is Kali Yuga. So we are dealing with these kind of things. Even more so are glorious those devotees who really understand the spirit of Srila Prabhupada's books and follow faithfully. That can become an encouragement. And Prabhupada was encouraged by his disciples. He loves to hear the Sankirtan results, and he even said, when I hear the Sankirtan results, I feel like a young boy. He was just about to die. He said, the only thing which keeps me here is reading this newsletter. So we went constantly on marathon. We were totally on marathon. Just, you know, because we thought this is how we keep Prabhupada around. You know, Prabhupada is this magic mantra for us. Whatever we surrender from the results, Prabhupada, we did so much. He said, double it. You know, what? Double this? Okay. And we double it. And then again, double it. It was a double it marathons all the time. We even printed that kind of things, you know, this thing you stick here and all the, you know, this called
Batches?
Huh?
Batches?
Batches, yeah. It was just double it, you know, everybody had a batch, double it. It was a constant marathon. Prabhupada used even his departure from this planet to draw even more devotional service out of us. So it was, you know, of course it was ecstatic, but simultaneously dramatic, of course. He didn't want to accept it, Prabhupada, and nobody wanted to see it. So, this is actually how Krishna consciousness works, really. So, we should not be shocked. Senior Vaishnava, and this disciple came up. Yeah, he just came to a certain stage of purification. And he has to face something normally he would not face for millions of lifetimes. It's concealed. So now it came out. It's not like something was imposed upon him from outside. Of course, by association, the desires get activated. But it just came to a certain stage of purification and then poof, it comes out. So therefore, association with devotees is not good. Immediately there should be assistance. Prabhu, what happened? I don't know. I feel suddenly like I want this. Usually it's like I want hair. That's usually what happens. So you know, so yeah. I just followed a similar recently. It's happened to very, very nice brother. You know, poof. Immediately there are two godbrothers. Hey, 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 hey. And his credit is he took the help. He took the help. So other zeros are part of this progress. It's not a setback, it's he deals with this. It's not important who is struggling with what, but how he deals with that. Where do you get your help? Where do you get your assistance? It's not important how sick you are, important is what kind of doctor you have. Because if you have a good doctor, you have a good medicine, yeah, you will get healthy. Not like, oh, he is sick, you know. But of course, if he doesn't take help, if he doesn't take, assistance, and he goes, I am completely healthy, you are sick. That's usually how the logic goes of such a paralytic person. You don't do much. You can only say, okay, sorry, I just wanted to help. Help what? I'm completely okay. Be shine in your own glory. Even Prabhupada had to surrender like that. He said, if Krishna doesn't stop you, what can I do? But what Prabhupada did, when such a hypocrite went out and started to preach to others, you know, the International Society for Two Regulatory Principles and things like that, then Prabhupada became furious. Because then you are harming others. You are cheating. That's not allowed. But when you struggle, you know, with your own misconceptions, you do. But one should always be ready. You may come to a point of doubt. Well, maybe I'm not so happy. Maybe I'm not so perfect. False ego is a terrible thing. You know, it's a terrible thing. It just locks you in, and even you guess there's something wrong here. You don't come out. How will I look like? And the higher you operate, the worse it gets. Look, they worship me and they respect me, and what will they say when I come out and go, sorry, it's not me? You know? What terrible. And then you find yourself an association of 2, 3 other hypocrites, and they will go, no, you cannot do that. You cannot go out and say you are weak, because how do we look like? They are the team of hypocrites, you know, here. Don't look here. Let's keep on marching shoulder on shoulder and cheat people. Then Krishna goes, you know what? I will expose you all. Poof. Usually something very drastic happens. And the devotees go, how could this happen? Well, that can be traced back. How did it happen? Somebody was hiding. This is not a place to hide. Krishna consciousness is like, you know, poof, the light goes on. And you go, whoa. I was so peaceful in the material world, you know. Sometimes they say, I was so peaceful before I joined. Now I'm so agitated. What is it? Yeah, you were peacefully sleeping. You know, you had your concept and your idea, and you had a little flat, and you closed the curtains, and you were just, you know, that's me. Now the light goes on. There's a mirror coming up. That's you. No. I don't want the mirror, I want the picture. That's me, my picture, that's me. No, this is a picture. So we get lots of mirrors coming up. It's called association with devotees. You may think this devotee is talking nonsense. But what about the other one says the same thing? And the other one says the same thing. And they say it for 20, 30 years. Well, it could be true, isn't it? Different people tell you all the time the same thing. Oh, it's time to think about it, you know? Might be that they are right. You know, and Krishna sends on a way such a wonderful help. Therefore, some people have to leave association of devotees because they cannot sustain such an exposure. You know, they have to go aside and they just go. Now, it's my Krishna consciousness, and I want to do it myself. You know, and usually it's very difficult to maintain that. You know, because Krishna consciousness is magnified by the association. You know, that's the concept of Lord Chaitanya. You never find Lord Chaitanya, you know. Of course, he was going alone. He's God. He's Atmarama. He can go anywhere. No problem. But his devotees, read Chaitanya Charitamrita. What an intense association! What a togetherness! Lord Chaitanya is serving himself prasadam to his devotees. A huge feast. You don't find a picture of one bhakta sitting behind a palm tree and going down. Leave me alone. A huge togetherness. That means, togetherness means that, yeah, you will be exposed, and very, very different devotees. It's not like they are all one and the same. It was really fun in the times of anti-sect propaganda in Germany. They were always going, if you lose your individual identity, you shave up and you look the same. Everybody, they look all the same. They chant the same, they eat the same. You know, there's no variety. I was laughing. I said, I wish it could be like that. Because I never saw such a collection of eccentric individuals like this movement. I don't see it exists on this planet until today. I mean, what eccentric people I met in Krishna consciousness. I can go one by one. It will sound like a I mean, Hollywood, they wouldn't make such a bizarre movie, you know. They wouldn't collect such a characters. Impossible. What kind of eccentrics you find in Krishna consciousness? Nobody is the same. Therefore, how do you manage such a club of people? It's practically, materially spoken, impossible. You know, because everybody is so, you know. How did Prabhupada do that? No, it wasn't easy. All the time, you read his letters, all the time he was leaving and, I cannot stay here. All the time, Prabhupada is urging, please, let's cooperate. It should be possible we have the same cause. And it was actually possible. I had no glimpses of the top management in ISKCON. You know, until today I'm not entitled to comment much. I don't know. But the common rank devotees, there was a great sense of loyalty. There was such a sense of loyalty you can't imagine. Because we all did the same. We were running out distributing books. You could try to harm a book distributor, you will get 60 others coming down on you. Out of question. Even the dealings were pretty rough, you know, brahmacharis. You know, I was sick, you know, and I was just, oh, I'm sick. And the only comment I got that we are not this body. Come on, just mental, don't get mental. I have a 40-degree fever. It's Maya. I just put on another jacket. There are sometimes 3 jackets and like this. And I'm just, I was saying, the legs are moving. They're still okay. I cannot be mental, no? And we were pretty brutal, you know, in the approach. I mean, what he did, I cannot even explain to a new devotee today. He was saying, I'm really hallucinating. You know. And I was not the worst. It was much worse once as me. And then one devotee was always sick. You know. So he just, you know, he had something called brahmastra. It was some kind of drink he was cooking. Always, every day he cooked this soup, which was mainly consisting from chilies and something else, some kind of tea. And you could burn a floor, you know, with that. You know, you could probably burn a hole into a floor. You know, and he was every morning just opening this can and just going, and he was like, and he was just right like a tornado. I couldn't even speak for 10 minutes when he went out. And we were distributing snowstorms and anything, you know. I remember that one day I was with a new bhakta out in a snowstorm, horizontal snow. That's really something, you know. You just go, help! You have a mouthful of snow all the time because this all goes horizontal. You know, you have on the book, you have constantly piling snow, you just go, hey, that was some nice books you know. It's constantly snow running out. Fortunately, they're in plastic, you know, so. And then, you know, and people running around. I remember it was frozen parking lot from the shopping center, you know. And, you know, and this devotee, before he joined, he was a manager in a shopping center, in some sort of shopping center. So, you know, and he, in the middle of the snowstorm, he just flipped out. He said, I cannot tell you something more! I heard a scream across the parking lot. So I just ran, and people were gliding with the shopping trolleys, and it was all frozen ground, you know, there was cars, and it was dark and snow. And I just found him there between the cars, you know, he was like, this is too much! And I just grabbed me and said, you want to be again manager in a shopping center? No! Some people are devoted! Yeah! And then he just, you know, disappeared again. It was really like a war, you know. It was totally war atmosphere. So many memories like this, you know, we went through very extreme things. I mean, you shower outside for 4 years, winter, summer, everything, you know. I know the technique how to shower in frozen fields, you know. You know, you have to jump because when the feet are frozen to the ice when you're showering, it really hurts, you know, it's like needles. You know, and you know, and you live with 4 brahmacharis in a van, you know, like small van, everything is wet the whole week, nothing dries, you know, there's no heating. So, you know, so That was the first generations of Sankirtan. So nowadays, Sankirtan devotees, their bands is like Sheraton, you know. It just got too multiplied. It's really good. Then hydraulic ventilation. Well, if you have to take a rest. They have a Wi-Fi, you know, in car or whatever, you know. Laptops coming out. We have to watch in the morning the Arctic in Mayapur, you know, live transmission, you know, there's a devotee in Germany who's equipping bands like this. First class. So, you know, so it's a little bit different. When I come into this hands, I go, oh, wow, that's dangerous. I would get attached. I would never get out of it like this, you know. But to go out of the van I traveled with, it was very easy. It was unlivable. So you had to go out. So there will be surprises. You know. We don't know even about ourselves. Maya can do anything, anytime. There is built-in desires. Just takes the right constellation. The sense object, senses, the desire comes up. The magnetism. And we can talk. Like the nail is talking in front of the magnet, you know. I'm not attracted to magnets, I don't know. There's a magnet here. So what? I'm a transcendental to all the magnets. Yeah, I mean, just, I feel some influence, but you know. By the power of the holy name, I can overcome everything. Yeah, well, you know, yeah. And then, when the distance is short enough, then that calls for a change of ashrama for sure. You know, that's really important. Some message to be transmitted. Okay. So therefore we have to be making precautions. And once again, the supreme precaution is, the supreme saving device is to make sure we have a spiritual guide. So when we feel this magnetism, you know, yay, like, you know, what is this? You know, because we didn't even notice the magnet, you know. We just go, we feel like we are somewhat, you know, hey, what's happening, you know? Hey. That's the time going, oh, please, help. And the spiritual master is supposed to be enough qualified. Actually, Prabhupada, one devotee wrote him a letter. Prabhupada, I'm troubled. What are your desires? I'm troubled. You know, the magnetism was on. I have problems. Prabhupada said, what problems? So with the kick of my left foot, I can remove all your problems. Wow! That's faith alone, and that's the key word to that. Faith. And faith is something which is very delicate. It has to grow. You know, it's not done immediately. Like I said, and crazy man can have immediate faith. Whoever comes to Krishna consciousness, great, good, fantastic, he must be crazy. Because normal people have doubts, normal people have questions, normal people investigate. How is it going to be, what I'm going to do? The crazy man doesn't do that. So he appears like he has great faith, but actually he has simply no brain to ask. But normal person is building up, you know, the faith. Yeah, there must be a minimal faith to start, and then it's growing. By hearing, association, chanting, more and more following, the faith is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It's a gradual process. Prabhupada started all that. Different stages. This was ruchi, is a taste. I like this. I don't know exactly why, but I like this. It's good. And then the conscious, you know, awareness of what I am doing is raising up until it actually becomes unshakable. That's called Madhyamadikari. Madhyamadikari cannot be shaken. He doesn't know exactly the full explanation. He doesn't know exactly the full Shastra quote, but he cannot be deterred. But still, Maya is there all the time. We know, you know, Maharaj Bharat. What an example. He was on the level of Baba. but because he was a kshatriya, you know. It was, oh, very honorable man, always out there protecting others. Very good, perfect Christian. Could be a good Christian, you know. No, it doesn't happen. And just because he saw a small deer falling into water, he just go and drown and he was right away there to save the deer. For a deer! And actually it's described that actually he was affectionate to the deer because the lotus eye of the deer remembered him on the lotus eye of Krishna. He felt, you know, there was attraction. The same way like devotees get attracted to each other on a level of devotional service. And then they find themselves surrounded by lust. How did this happen? First attraction is, oh, what a nice prabhu, what a nice Mataji, what a nice service. And in the end is just, you know, saying good old thing, right? You know, becomes trivial. So to keep that freshness of Krishna consciousness, one is to also keep a fresh spiritual approach. That's important. And that's again coming through the spiritual master. Never give up hearing. The hearing channel has to be open all the time. There's no stage in Krishna consciousness you stop hearing, rather opposite. It was fascinating to see Srila Prabhupada, how eager he was to hear. Even hearing his own books. You know. And what to speak of meeting devotees. And Prabhupada was actually, it was the fascinating thing, you know. He was eager to associate with us. They brought him to a half-constructed temple. They said, Prabhupada, you cannot stay overnight. I mean, we rent you a hotel. He said, I don't want you in a hotel. I want to stay in a temple. I rather sleep here between sun and sex, the devotees. I don't want to go in a hotel. You know, it was so fascinating, so encouraging. Prabhupada is with us, you know, all the time. You know, so this is what makes Krishna consciousness really tasty. And that's what helps us to overcome material desires. The worst thing is when devotees conclude, no, I have to walk out of the door. It's not easy to come back sometimes, because the false ego is so strong. So before I make such a decision, I should think twice. What do you get when you walk out of the door? Is something else?
Well, you practically already answered what I want to ask in the beginning. It was about faith that you're speaking about. The thing that when we are traveling with the country devotees, when we are doing country, we are traveling with devotees, doing country. A lot, I think almost 80% of them are now not anymore, because they are doing something else. They are not part anymore. And I remember, back then I was thinking that probably they are strong conqueror, they're driving, they're strong conqueror on the fire, they drown the back in the material road. But I remember also what they're speaking. They're speaking a lot about faith. They're speaking a lot about their doubt. And in one point, now I'm not so long in the broker. I don't know, maybe 8-9 years, but that's little. And considering the Shastra, considering the spiritual masters, what's happening, we see that even any story, any Shastra that I got getting on the very easy platform, that I don't have any knowledge about that. I'm practicing and everything, doing.
What is the question?
The question actually really define between blind faith and faith.
Yeah.
They define that we are following the real. Because I'm chanting, I have some peacefulness, I have some nice feelings, but that I can't get any. And also that you're speaking this concept when you before Madhyamadikari, you need to have some association to hear a lot.
Yeah.
Let's give example.
But this is again a stage of development. Basically, we are doomed to join a level of blind faith. What do we know? So, but that, Prabhupada said, should be changed. Because you cannot sustain Krishna consciousness in a level of blind faith. That's practically impossible. There will be tests from Maya coming, which will break you. If you don't overcome, you know, attack of the senses and the mind, and by superior intelligence. So there has to be knowledge. Knowledge which comes by sincerity. And there is a decision to be made. But it will be difficult to make decision on the level of blind faith. Blind faith gets easily destroyed. The whole mood how spiritual master is worshipped also, It's like, I have to point out, when you listen to Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, he explains, like yesterday he explained what the spiritual master actually is. It's nothing to do with blind faith. But when that worship turns into something called personal cult, that's blind faith. He's coming. Did you saw it? He's flying. He passed by. I smell the garland. It was a smell of Vaikuntha. The more east you go, the more you get to hear this kind of things. How long do you want to sustain that? There's so many things smelling, and so many things flying, and so many things like that. So there will be tests. So the test comes when we are attacked by Maya. There has to be a constructive relationship, and the faith is to be backed up by knowledge. It doesn't matter what you believe or feel or stuff. We are not this body. It doesn't matter what you feel or think about a person. Whoever can help you to embrace service to Srila Prabhupada, you should listen from. There's Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. If you know what is Guru, if you know what is Shastra, you know what is Sadhu, you're on a safe ground. But we feel and not feel, wow. Don't be mistaken. Even Prabhupada disciples serving Prabhupada closely, following his instructions, went through crisis with Prabhupada. There was even crisis. There was even those who walked out of the door and said, no, this is too much. How could he say such a thing? Or they were thinking, no, he doesn't understand properly. He was misinformed. Then he went out and he realized, what I'm doing here is just, there's nothing here, just Maya. They came back and apologized. And sometimes very dramatic relation with Prabhupada and his disciples. You don't have to copy that. But every spiritual master should be available for constructive exchange. Because that's what you initiate yourself into. Otherwise, what's the use? To have a picture on the wall? Why don't you have a picture of Sai Baba hanging out? Why not? Sai Baba doesn't talk. He just goes, that's it. So, no, constructive relationship. You find it in the Shastra, all these things. You want to do something for Krishna, and that will be problematic. It won't be easy. We will only meet some problems. How can I overcome this? At least I was trained like this, that Krishna consciousness has a practical form. Where are you going to be? What are you going to live from? What are you going to do? Especially when you enter Grihastha ashram, well, then that's really the challenges you meet down the road. Brahmacharis sometimes they are really like, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in Harinam. I'm going to live from? Today he is cooking, so where are you going to live? In the temple? Sometimes even the word receipt or bill or factura, it's called, it's completely like, what is it? You think this thing, you mean these things on the ceiling cost money? I don't see any money. They're just shining. No one shines in that. Grihastha sometimes go, oh my God, it's like a kindergarten, Do you know that costs money? Every second it clicks, that thing costs money. Do you know how much that boga costs we are going to eat today? The Grihasthas learn to think in price tickets. Anything they see, it's plunk, comes the price up. Brahmachari just go, hurry, go. Any problem. Sometimes they feel like Prabhu is a new kurta. Big problem. It's to be solved. Serious problem. Then Krishna goes sometimes, okay, my dear brahmachari, let's take a walk to the world of realities. So you learn how to be afraid of a mailbox. You know why you're afraid of a mailbox? They say, so it's a bill inside you should pay. Or reminder. They go, reminder? What is a reminder? What is a reminder? Grihasthas know what the reminder is. And then comes the children. Oh. Oh. You investigate into the price of the nappies. It's a big issue. Or you change your rounds, you go, I hope we can find these cheap nappies again. The mothers, oh my God. I did the whole babysitting, so my wife could really chant 16 rounds around the whole most demanding time, but there are many mothers who just sometimes give up and just say, okay, I will chant after when the kid is maybe 6 years old. It's not a good term, really, but they're desperate, you know. That thing is just eating you and this and that, and it's total chaos. You cannot structure children really that much. They have their life on their own, you know. They go backwards instead of forwards, and they fall down the stairs and this and that. And I remember at least spending 2 years in a state of a total alert. It's like after a car accident, you know. When you go, ah! And you stay in this stage like this for 2 years. Where's the kid? Where's the kid? You got your whole house barricaded, you know, the stairs are barricaded. It looks like a fortress, you know. Because you have this little thing, you know, going plunk, 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 plunk down the stairs. You know. No sense of balance. That goes like half a year. I was so paranoid, I fixed that helmet on my brother's head permanently. Like a helmet, you know. And then she goes down, bang, 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 at least the head is somehow protected. Yeah, constantly, where is it? What happened? You know, alert, alarm. And I had a girl and he had a son. They know in an earlier stage how to disintegrate electric plugs. They investigate into the electricity, you know. They know how to investigate into inner life of electric stove or something like this. So anything that can be, you know. And they kick and scream. And girls are a little bit more like, you know. And I want to go into this detailed seminar on how to survive your fatherhood and motherhood. But it's just the illustration, warning for the brahmacharis. Enjoy your peace. So all the stages of judgment, devotees has to go through this. There's nothing that we are safe from what actually karmis going to go through. They say always, do you think something different going on in Krishna consciousness? Basically not. We just have a help, and we have a shelter. And we can save ourselves from the worst, but not doing the worst. We are living not free of misery, we are living in a regulated misery. Well, that's an improvement, isn't it? Do you think you are free, liberated? No, I am not. But I can actually save myself from lots of trouble by the four regulative principles. It is nothing else as trouble-saving device. I described how much trouble you can save yourself by following the four regulative principles. Makes life really easy. I can't even imagine how people can risk their lives by not doing so. It's life-threatening. It's life-threatening to live without Krishna consciousness. Just imagine. I just spoke a few days ago if I was living with our bhakta, what it is to wake up in the morning and not knowing what to do. especially Denmark, which is a pure place of ignorance. They all know what you are talking about. Just imagine, you wake up in the morning, you go, what shall I do? Maybe I should do this. I think I will sleep 1 hour. When you wake up again, you say, you have to wake up. And you think, well, maybe I should do this, but then you do this and you think, no, that's actually not what I want to do. Maybe I will do this. And, oh, I'm very excited to do this, but I cannot do that. I would like to have that. Now I have no money, I cannot get that. The whole day like this, it's like living in hell. In Krishna consciousness, you wake up, you know, to the sound of the alarm clock, and there it goes. You don't have to think what to do. So they are scheduled. You know, they just bam, 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 bam. If you really, Prabhupada said, not 1 second should be accidental. Now this, this. Sometimes you think, actually, the more I do, the more I have to do. That's called Krishna's mercy. It's called transcendental distress. You are so stressed that you cannot do any nonsense anymore. Managers, they can tell you that. They think, okay, I will manage the place so perfectly, we will have enough manpower, enough money, you know, it will be okay. It's hell. There's always 1 man missing, there's always too little money, and there's too many bills in the mailbox. So you always do, ah! You know, pray, oh Krishna, please, you know, what do we pay the next electricity bill? Oh. Somebody always gets paid. You know, I managed for 15 years an operation, let's say altogether, I don't know, somewhere 850,000 Swedish krona. I don't know what is this, and I don't have calculations here. Could be around 250,000 euros a month, operation like that. You know, you think, wow, it's quite some money. Thanks, nothing left, every month. It was poof, because there was 10 preaching programs maintained by that, plus the place had to function. The electricity bill comes, and you know, the rent and all this, and, you know. And sometimes, mysteriously, there was no money. We had a restaurant, you know. I was going, oh no. And in 1 week, I have to pay 3 months rent. It came every 3 months. I was going, no. Where do we get that? There was no seemingly potential to collect that money. So we just chant. Nowadays I would not panic. Those days I used to panic occasionally. Nowadays I don't panic. And the last week, before the payment is due, an incredible amount of people just dashes into the restaurant, just devouring prasada, and cooks go crazy, and the equipment starts to break down. Total marathon. Then you pay your bills and everything is quiet, and nobody comes. You say, I didn't do anything. Where did this came from? You just go to Jesenica and go, thank you. After a while you get almost used to it. Crisis, crisis! You go, yeah, just again? Yeah, just let's chant. Of course we try hard to avoid that, but we will not avoid it. It's always coming in some crisis. And that's Krishna's mercy, so we don't relax and go, yeah, I'm fine, I'm so fine. There's a danger in India. So Dr. Vikas Maharaj can confirm that. They have this millions of Hindus pouring in the door, you know. Can I give a donation? Where can I give a donation? That doesn't happen you in the West. In the West you can be happy when they don't steal the donation box. So, you know, and that's healthy, it makes us live. Krishna! Otherwise, everybody will buy himself, you know, a BMW and drive around and going, wish you good luck. We know how difficult it is to preach in these social welfare countries, where every brahmachari knows, I don't need this temple. I can anytime go to the office and say, I feel a little bit mentally disturbed. And they give you 8,000 kroner a month, and then you are just sitting in some flat. They give you a flat, they give you a house. You just sit there and going, yeah, now I can watch peacefully TV. But it's falling apart. It will not last for long. This is so artificial. You cannot imagine how many bhaktas we will get. People will come to Hare Krishna movement just to eat. These days are coming. But Krishna will not give us too much if we are not ready for that. So we have to train ourselves to be ready to take care of people. And it's blissful. We know it. Even, in a temple where it's kind of a little bit gloomy atmosphere, when one bhakta joins, everybody gets up. Hey, there's a new one! They all come looking. And the whole place gets alive. Because we live for that. This is the purpose of this movement. To accommodate new bhaktas. As one of my most wonderful brothers used to say, one of the best bhakta leaders in ISKCON ever, he said the only treasure and the only asset this movement has is our new devotees. It's the most valuable thing we have. No money can compensate that. And anytime somebody joins and takes part in Krishna consciousness, it's not an inspiring thing. You think, but that's what we lived for. When you have places, 15 years nobody joined, And the devotees are, as if like the old ones, just like some old ship sailing silently, no wind. Just the sails are hanging down around, they are just survivors in this ship, sitting there just chanting, discussing, how to have more effective association with devotees. The last 5 guys sitting there on the ship is just saying, no wind. And they go, oh yes, I know him. Of course you know him. It's the only one who was around for the last 5 years. Or 15 years. It becomes like kind of closed society, it's just like, okay, they're waiting. There's some wind coming, we are standing in the same spot since the last 15 years. It gets a bit stale, constipated. But when new devotees come, then suddenly the wind comes, and here they go. But Krishna will not send any if you are not prepared. You cannot really take care of them. Yes?
Ja sam htio da pitam u vezi ove izjave jutros što si dao o ovom Brahmani koji je, kada je nutio pirinač slatku rižu zapravo i kada je mislio da je vrući, stavio je prst u tu rižu, on se opekao i pojavili su se plikovi na prstu.
So I wanted to ask about the example we gave this morning about the Brahmana who sticks his finger into the sweet rice and got burned and going to the meditation.
Tu ima puno misterije, kako je to moguće?
It is a mystery. Therefore he was up at last. He was very surprised.
Ima još jedan primjer u Četanja Čaritamriti. Onaj bhakta koji je napravio put za Šri Čaitanju Mahaprabhu kada je trebao da ide u Vrindavan. On je napravio put u umu, imao je viziju da Šri Čaitanja Mahaprabhu neće tada proći tim putem za Vrindavan. Imao je viziju zapravo, vidio je unaprijed ono što će se desiti.
There was a physical obstacle on a virtual road. How come? So this is called achintya. Achintya means that we have to understand that, like Prabhupada objected to the word wonder. He said wonder is only for fools. From Krishna's point of view, it's absolute logic. So this is the logic of a devotee. Yes, Krishna did it. By Krishna's mercy, anything can happen. That's devotee's logic. Somebody what is never surprised. Like always people go, oh God, how could this happen? Just saying that, oh God, how could this happen? Means you don't know one thing, who is God. Devotee never is like that. He knows there is always a cause. Krishna is the supreme cause of all causes. And therefore, by His mercy, anything can happen. When even the reporter asked Prabhupada, somebody, can you do something wonderful from Bandha? Because it was used those days of this arriving gurus from India. Prabhupada said, India has two biggest export articles, rice and gurus. They did arrive, and they did kind of magic, there was a sweet, or there was the ashes, or, except white rabbit coming out of the head. It was like magicians. So therefore they asked Prabhupada, can you do also something like that? Prabhupada immediately pointed to his disciples and said, this is my mother. And it's a fact. Nobody ever did anything like this before. Nobody ever came to the West and suddenly there was a temple full of devotees. Western devotees. Absolute magic. This is not materially explainable. This woman has no material cause. Materially spoken, there is no reason we should even be here. Why are we really getting material out of it? Like sitting here in the middle of the Croatian mountains and what am I doing here actually? Ridiculous. How did I got here? And my whole life is like this. Can you imagine? I can look back and I say, oh, what was that? I just walked 72 in a door, and from there on, into the complex days, and this I return. Suddenly I was on the street, no hair. Outfit like this, not exactly what you call practical when you go on a construction site. While the kurtas with the pocket fit always a handle of the door, I don't know. Why you have to walk in full rain with something like this, it gets wet and goes flap, 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 flap. In Sweden, I said, by minus 30, you go to walk and do it. Of course, they have a full glass skiing outfit underneath. Strange combination. You are approximately the size of a rhinoceros, this size. John, horrible! People always do. What is this? I have to be a little bit practical sometimes. Ladies can only laugh. The saree is a completely natural thing. It's the most beautiful dress and it's practical, actually. I never had complaints from the Mataji. It's so impractical. The devotees starting in the kitchen. Oh, we had the rules in the kitchen, No devotee on a givok. Things like that. It can get dangerous. Unless you're not born Bengali. Bengali, they know how to wrap it this way and that way, and they can pants out of it, and no problem. But devotees very often don't know how to handle such a dropping thing, so they just, How did I end up with this? Why do I have this in the nose? What happened to my life? I wanted to be a genius artist, Something very special and unique. But nobody listened to me. And now I'm a completely spaced out Hare Krishna and people sit here and listen to me. There's no material reason you should listen to me. Why you listen to this guy? Why? And then comes the biggest one. Why am I still around? Quite few they are not. And they were better devotees than me. I can 100% tell you that. They are not here. That happens with age, You look around and you think, hey, there should be a 4,000 Goddess somewhere here. What happened? I think the body count is by now, I think, actively spoken, 200, 250. From 4,000, what happened? Of course, some died. That's okay. That happens. That happens to me too. We have a countdown here, you know. Blink, another one gone. But, and you understand less and less. Every Vyasa Puja, you stand there. I have no idea why I'm still here. Becomes more mystery. What is special? I know done. Just went out, distributed a few books, and what I'm doing is special. What is special about this? So we should know the value of mercy, what it means. We are all here by Prabhupada's mercy. What did we do? You, by your karma, Vaishnava karma, this just, was demonstrated not so long time ago. What a karma is in these hills, all the way down to, to Montenegro or something like this. What a karma! What storms of violence, atrocities, and incredible cruelties took place here. We ran out of words. I can still feel it. I mean, it's just when you come here, you say, my God, what must have been going on in this forest and in this country? That's karma. And here we are, devotees. There are even devotees in Antarctica. Probably they follow the principle, no meat, no eggs. Let's forget the fish. So many things there is. No, there is actually also possibility to be vegetarian and anarchist. And devotees everywhere, what happened? This is Prabhupada's wonder. That's what he meant, this is my wonder. So the more we are aware of that, and the more grateful we are, the more will Krishna respond. Because our devotional service is based on gratefulness to the spiritual master. We should never think we did something, we didn't. We would at best come close to some study of some perverted Kama Sutra edition. That would be our spiritual knowledge. Thinking about Shiva being the supreme, whatever. Prabhupada took something so complex and he made it so available. We wouldn't even know what that word Veda is, and we would just go and spook around and speculate and everything. Prabhupada gave Krishna consciousness such a practical form. Anybody can pick it up and do it. So merciful. Anybody, there's no restriction. Anybody who can pick up the beadbag and start to chant, he can do it. It's so amazing. Something which was not available for millions of years to anybody. It's called love of Godhead. That should power us to actually be grateful. Doing something in return. As Prabhupada said, to one sannyasi standing on a balcony in Mayapur, he said, "You see this Mataji? Picking up the flowers there for the deities." He said, "You know why she is ready to die for me? Because I'm ready to die for her." That was the relationship. It's called guru-disciple relationship. We knew it, we all knew it. Prabhupada came here just almost dying, killing himself on the boat, walking along there in New York, watching how the snow is coming down. He never saw snow in his life, Staying with weird people, preaching to weird people, until some roots took place, and so this came about. A place we can enter and be quite comfortably Krishna conscious. That's all him. So we should not at least mess it up. The first crisis in ISKCON arrived when somebody came up with the idea there could be some alternative Prabhupada. Prabhupada considered the biggest threat to this movement. These ideas are all the time coming around. Very dangerous. Yeah, Prabhupada gave us the basis, but you know, thank you very much. And, that's called Mayavada. Mayavadis think, no, you can also worship the deity also. It helps you for a while. But then, throw the deity away and progress to the higher level. Same attitude with Prabhupada. He introduced us to this, but it's so great, you know. We have nowadays this wonderful device on the internet, you know, all the Prabhupada's quotes, books. So whenever you see some subject or word coming up, you can click how many quotes you get from Prabhupada. And when there's a zero appearing, you can forget it. I could be very specific now, but some people get really insulted. Starting with Vashtu and Penchu. Go on the internet, click Prabhupada quoting Vastu. If you come up, zero. He didn't mention it even once in his life. I'm sorry I'm making some offense. I'm not saying it's bad. If you build a house, I would even consider it. Why not? You know, it's favorable. Why not? Favorable to what? So you can sleep better in that house. Live better and more comfortably in this world. That's the concept. Doesn't sound like Prabhupada, isn't it? But you know, if somebody is building a house like this, I know even I think a devotee has a company, is making good money on this. Yeah, okay, it's still vegetarian, you know. It's not very sinful business or something like this. You know, okay, if he's making a good money and gives a good donation, good, fine. Have you watched it? Fine with me. But please don't make it to a new religion. Prabhu, you cannot chant in a room like this. The window is too high and the door is on the left side, you know. And, oh, you see, when you reconstruct the whole house, it will cost approximately €1.5 million. But you know, then you know, what I saw devotees doing, I mean, they moved the entrance door to the first floor. You think what? I couldn't go up there. Then they built a huge staircase around, a massive staircase, another €500 million. And then they divorced and sold the house. What's the issue with this? Hey. I'd rather sit in a cellar, you know, with the potatoes, lifting the potato sacks and chant Happily Hare Krishna. Sorry, I'm insulting, but sometimes it is forms, it's like a fanatism. They look like new baptized witness Jehovah, you know. What? You know, Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's good, you must chant, but first we have to make a material arrangement so we can progress spiritually peacefully. Now, what about the statement, I have to give up Pratyahara? Material advancement doesn't depend on material circumstance. Spiritual advancement doesn't depend on material circumstance. Well, still, I asked previous GBC had this kind of philosophy before he left. So we asked, you know, but why is it so complicated? Every room in a temple has to have a fish tank with 7, you know, red fishes and 1 black fish, and the whole temple became like an aquarium. It's just like, why to do this? And he said, well, why not? If it makes your life comfortable. I said, comfortable? To feed the fish all the time. Can I change your house? You see, it goes chip, piece by piece, until you are in the middle of nowhere. The whole day running around, adjusting fish tanks and houses and everything. You say, oh my God, I have to change my house. It starts so innocent, but the result is quite ghastly. I know many people screaming in despair. What? Like I said, click on the internet, Prabhupada on Vastu, Prabhupada on Feng Shui, Prabhupada on whatever is popular. So why should I get into it? For him it was, so for me it's also a happy man, you know. Be happy you have some job, go in any way at all, and you have a place to sleep and chant Hare Krishna and this. And whenever devotees come together and chant purely the glories of Krishna and his pure devotee, that place is ecstatic. Regardless of the Vashta or not Vashta. You know how much anti-Vastu we were on Sankirtan? I can't remember. And this is really bizarre. I don't want to be provoked to tell you what we used to do. Don't do this.
Tell us.
I remember that year, I think it was me who started the whole thing. I was looking in the evening with a car full of brahmacharis, you know, hot summer, and where can we park so we have some river, you know, and we can, you know, we're sleeping in the car, so where can we just camp overnight so we can continue traveling, you know, and we need water, you know, because we had this water can, you know, in a car, this, you put milk in, you know, this kind of things we had. That was our water canisters. And in the winter it was frozen, wasn't it, back I remember. So you pull this thing out and there was always a thin ice on top and you broke the ice, you know, with a water and it was just big shower and, you know, and things like this. So it was summer, it was a hot summer. And somewhere we forgot to tank the water, you know, and there was no water and there was no river either. So I just drove through the countryside and there was this kind of little village. It was a little hill like that. It was getting late, you know, and the devotees said, come on, just park somewhere, let's sleep. I said, yeah, we cannot shower anymore, there's no water here. We passed the cemetery. And I realized, of course, every cemetery has water. In Germany, very luxurious. There's cans, there's water tubs, you know, like this. So I just parked at the cemetery, you know, outside on the wall. It wasn't locked, I tested, the entrance gate was okay. There was nobody there, it was a small village, and the cemetery was like outside, with a little chapel there, you know. So we just, and the devotee said, I cannot sleep in the car, it's so hot, you know. One devotee disappeared. I had to sleep on the graveyard. We found out that actually the marble plate is quite cool. And from there on it started. So the next evening we were again another cemetery. We used to sleep in a graveyard. On graves. Practical. It's marble, you know, it's clean. You wash it. You have the sign here rests, you know. Yeah, that's cute too. So Sankirtan huge, yeah. Quite bizarre. Then devotees in the morning, it's nobody there, you know, who's in the cemetery, you know, it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. They were full action, you know, showering and this and that, and washing gamsha, hanging it over the cross, you know. You know, and just, we populated the whole place, chanting there, you know. I knew that we are not alone, I knew that. We had quite some company. You know, we didn't care a damn thing. And we just, Sankirtan Kirtai, Marathon Kirtai, and just jumping around, and all the ghosts were like, come on, it's our cemetery. Like, yeah, we are here just for 1 hour, you know, Hare Krishna. There was only 1, 2 devotees, they couldn't take it. They were just waking up and saying, oh my God, there's ghosts here. I said, yeah, of course there are ghosts here. So what? They don't do anything. They do only something when you are afraid and you surrender to subtle body, then they do. But when you chant Hare Krishna, what can a ghost do to you? Sometimes I was chanting, you know, and they were really disturbed, these guys. They were quiet, Hare Krishna. They're like children, you know, they stop it. And after a while again, you know. I don't know how long we did that, but you know, but we said it was practical. We never got any disturbance, nobody goes to the cemetery, especially not at night. It's bizarre. No? I'm not recommending this, the accommodation facilities for Sankirtan devotees in Europe. It's not very polite either, you know. But what can the dead do anyway? Besides the chanting there, yeah, but the guys would at least some benefit. Anyway, this is bizarre. I'm just saying, you know, like entertainment. So, that was our Feng Shui concert. No, Vastu concert. But it's fanatic without outside. Okay? I don't want to keep on away from Prasadam. I would like to thank you for the patient hearing. Once again, you know, the speaker can only speak when the audience is there. Prabhu Siddhi alone, just talking to one in time. Yeah, Prabhupada used to do that. Prabhupada was alone in his apartment, he had a tape recorder, he pushed the button and that became the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Because he said, I have to preach on my behalf, spiritual master. There's nobody there, so he just talk on a wall. Yes, sometimes we have to do things like that. But that's not the same taste like when you have devotees taking part. Then it becomes Krishna consciousness taste. So thank you for being here, otherwise it wouldn't be fun, you know? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai.